Hey, so I've got to share this insight from BD. It's pretty eye-opening. He ran this poll yesterday asking when people first jumped into XRP, and honestly, the results show we're nowhere close to hitting a peak. Get this, 56% of people bought between 2016 and 2020. That's your battle-tested crew right there, the ones who've been through it all. Only 36% are the newer folks who came in from 2020 until now. Here's the thing about market tops. They happen when all that fresh money starts drowning out the old-timers' investments. We're just not there yet. And mad respect to everyone who had the guts to buy XRP during that whole lawsuit mess. Plus, you've got that hardcore 8% who've been holding since way back in 2012, 2016. But listen, it doesn't matter if you literally bought your XRP yesterday or years ago. What's crazy important is this. You got in before the big institutions showed up. Think about it. For the first time ever, us regular folks actually beat Wall Street to the punch on something like XRP. That's exactly why I keep telling people, if crypto's on your radar, now's your moment. Keep sitting on the sidelines and you're going to miss the boat on some of these coins. BD's absolutely right, though. We haven't even seen the real FOMO crowd pile in yet, so XRP's peak is still way off in the distance. Just wait until that FOMO wave hits over the next few months. Okay, this is wild and definitely not some random rumor. So get this. Swift's chief innovation officer just dug up this 8-year-old article about Ripple going head-to-head with Swift. And here's the kicker. He drops this cryptic message, "See you at CBOS 2025. Like, what does this guy know about Ripple and Swift that the rest of us aren't supposed to figure out yet? I'm dying to know what's really going down. Here's the crazy part. Back in the day, people were literally calling Ripple the CBOS killer. Why? Because Swift was hosting their CBOS conference and barely anyone showed up. Meanwhile, everyone was packed into Ripple swell happening right across the street. Talk about awkward. That's probably the exact moment Swift had their oh crap realization. Ripple wasn't just some startup anymore. They were becoming a serious threat. Swift basically had two choices: jump on the Ripple bandwagon or get steamrolled by them. And here's what's really fascinating. While everyone's glued to their screens watching Bitcoin drama unfold in the mainstream media, there's this entire revolutionary financial system quietly building itself behind the scenes. So analysts are throwing around this wild prediction. XRP could absolutely rocket to $100 if we get another 2017 style breakout. They're talking about a potential 300x jump from where we're sitting right now. Their logic? Simple. If history decides to repeat itself like it did back in 2017, we're looking at XRP hitting that magical $100 mark. Now, sure, they're basically just saying, hey, it happened before, so why not again? But here's where it gets really interesting. You've got to consider all the other massive catalysts that are about to drop over the next few months. We're talking about stuff that could be absolutely game-changing. Honestly, though, I'm not convinced XRP hits $100 without ETFs and serious institutional money flooding into the space. But if it somehow pulls that off without those heavy hitters, and then you stack everything else on top, man, we could be looking at numbers that make $100 seem like pocket change. But then you've got these people saying ridiculous things like XRP is as liquid and difficult to move as cattle in the 1800s. Like, come on, this guy clearly has zero understanding of XRP or the XRP ledger, yet he's out here talking like he's some kind of expert. XRP settles transactions in 3 to 5 seconds for literal fractions of a penny. This dude is just getting all hyped up without knowing the first thing about what he's discussing. You've really got to hear this guy. It's something else.
ETFs are for like when you need to invest in cattle and you can't like move the cattle to the New York Stock Exchange. So you have to have an ETF that it's like, don't worry, those cattle are there. But XRP in theory, like you should be able to send it here and there instantaneously for free. So the fact that it needs an ETF tells you that it is as illiquid and difficult to move as cattle in the 1800s. And so
this guy is absolutely clueless, like not even close to understanding what's really going on here. Look, here's the thing about XRP. It doesn't need ETFs at all. These companies just figured out they could make a ton of cash by filing for XRP ETFs because they saw there's real demand out there. Smart business move, sure. But if these people actually understood what XRP really is, they'd realize you can literally move it anywhere in the world within seconds for less than a penny. Mind-blowing, right? But nope. They're still stuck believing in the Lightning Network like it's some revolutionary breakthrough. Here's my prediction. Eventually, all these doubters are just going to vanish. Poof, gone. You'll never hear from them again. I'm telling you, the moment XRP flips Bitcoin, all this FUD and negativity will disappear like it never existed. Ever wonder how XRP could just completely vanish from the retail market overnight? Well, this is exactly how it happens. This whole scenario is what we call the Shane Ellis theory, and trust me, it's worth understanding. You've got to listen to what the Tucrium CEO has to say about this. It'll blow your mind how the pieces are already falling into place, and most people don't even see it coming yet.
It's hard to say. If they get approved as a bank and then announce they're not going to sell any more XRP onto the market because they want to capitalize the bank, I think that would be an enormous impetus for price. That's gigantic.
Here's the thing. Picture all that XRP just vanishing from the market forever. Now, will Ripple actually take this route? Who knows? But man, this fits perfectly with the Shane Ellis theory that's been buzzing around the XRP community forever. People are going crazy connecting the dots because of this signal's name, Ellis. Pretty wild coincidence, right? When institutions finally jump on the XRP bandwagon, things could get absolutely wild in the market. And get this, that symbol, it's tied to chaos magic. The Shane Ellis theory basically says XRP could rocket to insane heights like $1,000 plus dollars per token without needing billions more in investment. It all comes down to how order books work and the way liquidity flows in cross-border payments. The Shane Ellis theory actually makes total sense when you think about it. It's like supply and demand had a baby with market cap multipliers, and honestly, we're already seeing half of this theory come to life. The market cap piece is there, but imagine if Ripple locked away all their remaining XRP and promised never to dump it on us, regular traders. Can you picture how fast we'd hit scarcity mode once XRP really starts climbing? The demand would be absolutely bonkers. And boom! XRP's price would absolutely explode to some mind-blowing numbers. But here's the kicker. Everyone and their grandmother would need to get their hands on it too. Talk about the perfect storm brewing for XRP. We'd rocket past $589 so fast, it'd make your head spin if this scenario actually played out. Now, let's talk about XRP versus XLM, the adoption game and where they're headed long-term. Can you believe it's 2025 and we're still having this silly debate between XRP and XLM? You've got folks in both camps throwing punches daily, right? My crypto's better than yours. Back and forth, like kids arguing on the playground. But here's what cracks me up. XRP and XLM are actually going to be best buddies working together. Sure, they're pretty similar at their core, but they've got their own special talents and use cases. And here's the beautiful thing I've noticed. When XRP starts moving, XLM usually tags along for the ride. That's exactly why I've been telling you forever. If you're holding XRP, grab some XLM too. Got XLM in your bag? Better snag some XRP as well. Trust me, that's the smart play here. I mean, seriously, think about this for a second. If XLM becomes the go-to for person-to-person payments and remittances, you're literally holding the crypto that's going to handle all that cash flow. And if XRP ends up being the king of bank-to-bank transfers and cross-border payments, well, you're sitting on the crypto that'll be moving mountains of institutional money. It's basically a win-win situation no matter which way you slice it. Speaking of wins, XRP just scored some major street cred. The Central Bank of Malaysia just put XRP right next to Bitcoin as a potential replacement for cash and traditional bank deposits. But here's where it gets funny. Try actually buying something with Bitcoin sometime. You'll end up paying through the nose in fees for whatever you're purchasing. Then you get to stand around twiddling your thumbs for 10 to 20 minutes waiting for that transaction to finally clear. Bitcoin replacing everyday money. Yeah, right. That's never going to happen. But that's always been the Bitcoin maximalist fairy tale, hasn't it? Bitcoin's going to replace the US dollar. Everyone's going to need Bitcoin. Pure nonsense, if you ask me. But here's where it gets really exciting. Cryptocurrencies like XRP, XLM, XDC, and others could actually end up replacing physical cash down the road. Think about it. Crypto is going to become the backbone for machine-to-machine transactions, robot money, AI payments, the whole 9 yards. It totally makes sense that people would be doing their daily transactions in XRP, XLM, or XDC eventually. Now, for your average Joe who's never touched crypto in their life, What are they going to be using when mass adoption hits? They'll probably stick with central bank digital currencies or stable coins. Makes sense, right? It's familiar territory for them. And that's exactly why being invested in crypto right now is so crucial. Here's the thing. You'll likely be transacting on completely different rails than those CBDCs. While everyone else is using digital dollars, digital euros, digital pounds, and all that government-controlled stuff, you'll be operating differently. Your transactions won't be tracked and monitored the same way a CBDC or stablecoin would be. You'll have a whole different level of freedom and privacy. In other words, by the time this all plays out, you'd most likely find yourself in that exclusive 1% club, simply because you had the foresight to jump into crypto when it was still early days. So Elon Musk is out here championing this universal high-income idea because he's genuinely worried AI is going to swoop in and steal everyone's jobs. But hang on, what exactly does he mean by high income? Here's the thing though, we're already seeing UBI experiments popping up all over America. Cities are literally handing out $1,000 monthly checks to random folks, but here's the catch. They're calling the shots on how you spend it. Want to grab a beer or cigarettes? Nope, not happening. That money's locked down for the boring stuff. Rent, utilities, groceries, survival basics. Now, when Elon starts talking up this universal high-income concept, people get all excited thinking, sweet, free money from the richest guy on the planet. But let's get real here. What you're actually looking at is plain old universal basic income, courtesy of Uncle Sam. And we all know the golden rule, nothing's ever truly free, especially from the government. There's always a price tag, always conditions lurking in the fine print. That's exactly why I've always seen crypto as our potential escape hatch. You'd be operating on completely different financial tracks than whatever central bank digital currency system they'll inevitably roll out. Look, they keep talking about this digital dollar and how it's going to be a stable coin, not a CBDC. But come on, let's call it what it is. A stable coin and a CBDC, they're basically twins separated at birth. The only real difference is the name on the birth certificate. Fed issues it, boom, it's a CBDC. Ripple creates it, now it's magically a stable coin. And here's where it gets really interesting. Even on the XRP ledger, we already know they've got the power to yank back that stable coin. RLUSD, they can freeze it, claw it back, whatever they want. But XRP itself, that's a different beast entirely. They can't touch it. So picture this, you're sitting there with your shiny new digital dollar, or maybe you're across the pond dealing with digital euros or pounds. Wouldn't you rather be holding something like XRP, knowing nobody can reverse your transactions or dictate what you spend it on? This is exactly why crypto just makes so much more sense. And honestly, we're still ridiculously early to this whole party. We managed to get our seats before these cryptocurrency prices absolutely explode. Speaking of exciting developments, we're thrilled to share that Trish Turner, who used to run digital assets at the IRS, just joined the Crypto Tax Girl team as our brand new tax director. With all these massive crypto tax and compliance shakeups coming our way, having Trish on the team is honestly perfect timing. And you know what's brilliant about this move? This woman basically said, peace out, IRS, I'm going to make bank in the private sector. But here's what's really got me thinking. Maybe she didn't just leave for the bigger paycheck. Maybe she's reading the writing on the wall and knows the IRS might be living on borrowed time. I mean, wasn't that the whole point behind those tariffs anyway? To eventually phase out the IRS completely? Personally, I'd love to see them just wipe out taxes on cryptocurrencies made right here in America. Think about it. If Bitcoin gets mined on US soil and we can actually track that it happened here, why shouldn't that be completely tax-free? That would be such a game changer. It'll be fascinating to watch what actually happens with the IRS moving forward. But honestly, this lady absolutely nailed her timing. I'm betting she saw a pretty sweet bump in that paycheck too. But here's the bottom line. No matter which way you slice it, crypto is hands down the smarter play as we dive headfirst into this digital world. You're literally holding on to something that's going to be worth serious money down the road. Just wrap your head around this for a second. They're about to start moving digital dollars and central bank digital currencies using the exact same bridge asset that you had the guts to invest in way before all these big institutions even showed up to the party. You're literally going to be a freaking legend when people look back at this moment. But hey, until all this craziness actually unfolds, we've got to keep our cool, stay patient, and keep that positive energy flowing. We're all going to get rich together. I can feel it. All right, folks, that's where I'm going to call it for tonight's video. Seriously. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and watching this whole thing. You guys are absolutely amazing, and I genuinely appreciate every single one of you. I'll catch you in the next one, and until then, have an awesome night, everyone.